All right. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody is having a great morning, and I'm excited to be with you and excited to start the week off with you. So, look, as we get started today, I've had one of those moments, one of those weekends where I've had a tremendous amount of time to be able to reflect, and the ability to be able to just simply get this thing dialed in. There we go. Be able to reflect, to be able to think, and I think that if you look at that, there are three types of thinkers in the world, and let's start there. Here's the first thing. The type of thinker in the world is something, and one of the great tragedies of humanity is that simply don't think. And that was said by Earl Nightingale back in the 1950s and 60s. There was, of course, a great book written by hundreds of those. That book is To Think. In fact, he talks about it in the first several pages of the book. He says that eventually you'll come to understand what this book is all about and what he really comes to teach. And the principle is simply thinking. So I assume if you're on this call, you're not what I would consider to be the first person, which is the person who doesn't think at all. But then I think that there's another type of thinker, and that is the person who's a small thinker, someone who doesn't really think big, of course, and who thinks very, very small. There's someone who is often the critic. They're often the person who talks and focuses on the glass being half full, the person who looks at life and simply thinks about it in a fashion of great smallness, and they think of it in a place of what really can't be accomplished and all the reasons why things can't happen versus looking at all the ways that they can. And certainly if you think about the people, the non-thinkers, and you think about all the people who are small thinkers, that takes up a huge majority of humanity. And it's an unfortunate thing because we've been given this great gift to think, to be able to reason. We have prefrontal, right, lobe in the front of our head, right? If we don't like where we're living, we're not a tree, as the great Jim Rohn said. You can get up and move if you choose to. You have the ability. He used to talk about, why do the birds fly south? Well, it's because birds fly south. That's what they do. But as a human being, if you think and you choose not to go south and you choose to go north, that's because you have the capacity to reason and the capacity to think. So when you start thinking about whether you're a non-thinker and do you take the time to think, do you sit down with a pen in hand or at your computer and just simply think? Do you ask yourself compelling questions? Do you ask yourself things that will expand the way you are as an agent, a leader, a parent, a friend, someone who really takes in what's going on around us with all the different challenges and circumstances that are going on, and making sure that we recognize that every individual, every human being has tremendous value and has tremendous value. So those are the two types of thinkers. But then there's a third. And I have to believe that if you're listening to this and you're hearing the sound of my voice, that you're that person who likes to simply think big. You have a mindset of expansion. You have a mindset, that entrepreneurial spirit within you. You have this idea within you that you want to do extraordinary things. You want to make your mark. You want to be able to do things that do great things for not only yourself, for your family, and for those that, all right, there we go. Self back. As you're going through today, I just want you to think about really how big of a thinker are you? Are you thinking big enough, large enough? Is it not working right? Well, I'm being asked, just ask. Pardon? I probably have, but let's just double check. Hold on, guys, just 1 second here. We're just gonna make sure we're connected to the right Wi-Fi. Yeah, but if it keeps glitching and it's not going well, I'll dial in and then we can call the video. So just keep me posted. Okay. So getting back to this. So if ask yourself, are you a big thinker? Now, for me, when I think about big thinking, I think, yes, about leaving your mark, making a difference, doing things of that sort. But I think the more important question isn't necessarily just do you think big? It's the questions that you're going to ask yourself to be able to think big. So what is it that you're thinking about it? What is it that you are asking yourself? Questions like, how do you become a better real estate agent? How do you set more appointments? Questions that expand, how do you earn more money? How do you save more money? How do you become more profitable? How do you present in a more compelling, passionate way? How do you close more transactions? How do you close the sale? How do you create the discipline that's necessary to win the game of real estate? See, all of these are questions that expand our thinking. And I have a deep belief that most of the questions that you ask yourself, the answers already reside inside of you. You already have the answers. The challenge is that because we as humans don't seem to think, we don't take the time to think, we don't take the time to write in our journal, we don't take the time to take a notepad out and ask ourselves great questions that produce extraordinary answers, then we lose out on what about life can give unto us. And that is that it can give answers. Direction, revelation, prophecy, all these words that have been used throughout humanity. Where do they come from? They come from the idea that I would simply tell you that it comes from the idea that someone asked a great question and things were revealed. They asked an extraordinary question and prophecy, revelation occurred. And look, I'm a deep believer that each and every one of us has the power, the capacity, and the privilege, the opportunity, whatever word resonates for you, to be able to receive answers, whether it be from your creator, whether it be from yourself, whether it be from God. But I am absolutely convinced that as you ask yourself great questions, that expands the way you think, that you can think big, that you begin to have things revealed unto you, and you begin to find the answers. And you begin to find the answers to the questions of your most sacred desires and your most sacred dreams. So with that, yesterday I had the opportunity, as I was actually on a river trip, and I had the opportunity to take my two sons, my son-in-law, and many of you know Rick Davidson, one of my dear friends, and the five of us, we rented 3 boats and had a few guides with us, and we went down the Green River outside of just right down below the dam in Flaming Gorge out there in Utah/Wyoming. So if you haven't been there, I would encourage you to go there because it is absolutely spectacular. But as I was on the river, I started to just look around me and I started to reflect. And I started to think about just a couple of things that I think are really important to this idea in regards to vision and to what we see. So from a place of notes, what I'd like you to write down is this. And this is the question that I asked myself yesterday. And as I was expanding my own thinking and receiving, if you would say, inspiration, revelation, and understanding within myself, I asked this question. And here's the question. What do I see? It's a simple question. It's a simple question, right? What do I see? What do you see? Right? What do I see in relationship to, as I was reflecting, of course, yesterday was Father's Day, right? What do I see? What do I see in relationship to my business? I started thinking about that and reflecting on that. What is it that I see in regards to the impact I'm either making or not making? What do I see? What do I see as a father? Of course, if you're a mother, maybe if you have an impact and you have the privilege to make an impact on a young person, what do you see? What do you see the difference that you're making is going to be? What do you see you're going to do with your time? What do you see that you're going to do in regards to your business? How much money will you earn? How many families, individuals will you truly help this year? Right? What will be your impact in regards to educating ourselves, learning more, becoming more mindful and aware of, the civil injustices and things that are happening, right? What are we going to do in relationship to protecting those that protect us, right? In regards to law enforcement and the many people who serve valiantly. Of course, right? How are you going to, and what do you see yourself doing in regards to the injustices? What do you see yourself doing in regards to those that are on the wrong path and creating more racism and more separation and more types of polarizing types of activities that really destroy the very fabric of the things that are good within our lives? That's for each of us to individually think about and to ask ourselves. But again, what do you see? What do you see for your business? What do you see for your family? How about we move to your health? What do you see for your health? What do you see in regards to your longevity and the way in which you live your life, right? What are you committed to in regards to what you see? What are your actions speaking in regards to what you see in your mind, but what do your actions speak to your business, to your health, to your relationships of your life? Right? What do you see in relationship to yourself? Who are you going to become? What does it mean to be your very best to you? See, yesterday, as I was floating down about 8 miles of this river, and I put my fishing pole down and I watched my son fly fat fish from the back of the boat, and the guide said, he goes, looks like you're kind of doing the dad river trip, like meaning like I'm just sitting back, taking it all in, and it was this. And that is what do I see? As I looked all around me, I saw all these beautiful moments in history, the carving of the rock, right? I saw my son and the smile on his face as he would, reel in a huge rainbow trout, right? With all the color, and as we released it, and I would watch and I would just continue to think and think and think and ask myself, what do I see? What do I see in my future? What do I see in my life? What do I see in relationships? What do I see as a father? What do I see as a parent? What do I see? See, that's what created, and that is what creates vision for our lives. So the question I'm posing to you is really a question about vision. And it has been said for eons in time, for thousands of years, where there is no vision, the people perish. You've heard it, whether you're religious or not, you've heard it. So vision is a critical component to our future and to what we see. And if we can't see, it's unlikely that we will achieve. Very little is accomplished if we don't sometimes see something. So what is it, again, that you see? As I was going down the river, I started thinking about this. I thought about all the many people who had a great vision. See, I look at this country that we live in, right? It was for the abuse of power that they escaped at the times, back in the early days, right? In the 1400s, 1500s, 1700s, 1600s, right? It was the abuse of power. It was the abuse of religion that helped people see a better vision of what was possible. Now think about that. Think about just simply a pilgrim who had a greater vision, a vision for land, freedom, freedom of religion, freedom to act. Think about the Declaration of Independence, a couple hundred years later, people started to come to this great country. And all of a sudden they declared, as we're moving up in here in a week or two, up into the 4th of July, right? The Declaration of Independence. What is your independence? What is your declaration? What are you declaring to yourself and to this world as to what your vision is going to be? What do you see? So let me give you just some key things in regards to vision. So I hope that you've written down the word vision. I've asked you a great question. I hope you'll take some time to reflect upon it. What do you see in your business? What do you see economically? What do you see in the market? What do you see for your prospecting? What do you see for the people you speak to? What do you see in regards to the deals you're going to do? But now I want you to write down A, B, and C under the word vision. So write down the word vision, A, B, C. First thing about a vision, number one, it has to be better than it was before. All great leaders and all great people who have a great vision have a vision of things being better than they were before. Now, I want you to think about that. Think about the pilgrim. Think about them. They did not come to what we know today as the United States of America. They did not come on the idea that things would be worse. They came because they thought they would be better. That is the idea of all great visions. See, when we have a bad vision, a poor vision, we start doing the small thinking, the non-thinking. We start looking at life and we start looking at it as how bad it is, how difficult it is, how it's not going to work out. We get pessimistic. we get difficult, we get negative, we get angry, we start pointing fingers, we start blaming, victimizing, and we never become the victor. Why? Because poor vision of challenges and circumstances. We say, well, George, but should I look for the difficulties? That's different. Looking for the challenges so you can fix them is different than the vision of how bad things are going to always be. And I've said this for years, that your current circumstances do not equal your future. But if your vision of the current moment is that it will be worse in the future, that's a bad vision. If you believe that your past is going to equal your future, that is a bad vision. And the challenge with humanity in general, me and everyone, is that we get into this mode of thinking that our current circumstances are what will always be, and it is not true. It is not true that the past will equal the future. It is not true that the current circumstances will last forever. And although they may feel like they are lasting forever, they will not. Even if your exodus out of this life is your own untimely death, it will not last forever. So with that in mind, I want you to think about something. Think about, what is it that is your vision? What is your vision? What do you see, right? Because if you don't see a positive future, it is likely it will be very bad. If you don't craft, create, maneuver, build, and do something to create this beautiful future that's ahead of you, it is likely it will be a very bad one. Your vision is everything. What you see. And people say, well, I don't know if I can see it, George. You can. Oh, I promise you, you can. If I ask you to shut your eyes and tell me the color of your front door, you will see your front door in vision and in your head. What a beautiful thing that you have the ability to see without even being there. Without even being in front of your front door, with your eyes wide open, you can see it with your eyes closed and not even near it. That's the beauty of vision. You can see your future. And what every meditation, what every single thing that we work on is to see a brighter future. So all great vision, all great visionaries have an optimistic, beautiful future in store. They see it. They see a beautiful future. So what is your future? What do you see? I'm going to encourage you to write out. I'm going to encourage you to see it. What is your future in your most sacred relationships? What is your future in your most important regards to your health? What is your future in regards to this business? Some of you will say, oh man, I've always heard this stuff. Yes, but here's what's interesting to me. You hear this stuff. Some people will call it rah-rah. Some people will call it, just hype and pomp and circumstance. Is it? Is it? When did it become uncool to not be motivated? When did it become uncool to not listen to someone who is challenging your vision? When did it become uncool to not hear the facts that is this? If you are not achieving and earning as much money as you choose to and want to, I can promise you it has so much to do with your vision. What do you see? Because what you see becomes what you believe, and what you believe turns into how you feel, and how you feel is how you act. Now, can you raise your emotional standards? Yes. Can you raise your physical standards, or raise your emotion, raise your action? Of course, yes. Of course you can. But I'm telling you that if you can just sit in some quiet space, in a place of gratitude and in a place of thankfulness, that you can find the vision that will shape a belief of what is possible, with no filters, no mental dissecting, but just a clear vision of seeing the beauty of what life has in store for you. Vision. Vision is something that is always, if it's a great vision, it is always better than it was before. I would believe that not one of you wants to do less business today than you wanted to do before. So what is the vision that you have bought into? What do you see? Because it has to be better. That is why. Number 2, write down this word: sacrifice is required. All great visionaries understand this, that sacrifice is a key component to all great visionaries. It's going to require sacrifice. Again, let's just point out sacrifice. I have to believe that so many of them were willing to sacrifice. They sacrificed their own lives. They sacrificed their well-being. They sacrificed being on these waters in endless days with scurvy and many other sicknesses. Rowed this boat from the Mayflower to others, hoping that it would land safely. I am challenging you to understand that all great vision requires your sacrifice. It requires it because it's needed, because who you are today is the vision of your day. Sacrifice requires more of you. Sacrifice, earn more. Sacrifice is a critical component to the winning the game of a great vision. But if you have to remain as the same person you are today to achieve something great in the future, it won't work. Never does. Because sacrifice of all great vision. It can't work any other way. Because you're already living out the vision of your life that you have today. Everything you have is what you've already thought about. It's what is happening today. But who you are today cannot be the same person tomorrow. Constant and never-ending growth. Pushing, thriving, excelling, becoming, being. All of these, sacrificing the old to bring in the new, sacrificing old patterns, habits, disciplines, and principles that don't work and serve you any longer. It's different today for you. Why? Because every great vision requires a great sacrifice. Now, I said 3 words. Boy, we're running out of time. It's going quick. All right, so first one again is you got to make sure you got to have a clear vision, man. What do you see? Get clear, gang. Number 2, the acknowledgement. Hey, this is going to require something of me. I'm going to have to become more than I was yesterday. Yep, you're going to have to sacrifice. Then we go to number 3, and it's a good one. Write down the word temporary. Temporary. See, here's the thing that people often seem to forget about sacrifice and vision. They seem to think that when you say, hey, you need to prospect, they say things like, you mean forever? No, just for 2 hours today. Or when I say to you, hey, you should go practice a script, a dialogue, master your ability to communicate. And our brain works from a place of like, meaning always. It'll always be this way. I always have to do this. I'll always have to be practicing. Yes, I think you should practice, but there'll be steps. Improve. You'll begin to enjoy. It won't feel like a... Look, all sacrifice is temporary. All sacrifice is temporary. So look, when you have to pay the price of sacrifice, make sure that you have some business maturity within yourself to recognize that you have the capacity to win this game, as long as you recognize that all of the sacrifice, trials, errors, difficulty, and everything you're going after, it's because it is temporary that you can get through it. That's the important part of this. It's important for you to recognize that if you really want to win the game of real estate, that no matter what sacrifice will be, always. So think about this. If you knew where you were going, right? Vision. What do I see? Number one. Number one is a big one, right? And that is that if you know where you're, well, now you got to recognize that, wait a second here, is this vision better than it was before? Okay, it is. Now I have to do, well, I've got to sacrifice. I got to pay a price. I got to work hard. I got to pay a price in some level. Maybe I need to become more. Maybe I need to do more. I need to change the way I think. Maybe I change the way I feel. The point, of course, is that it's temporary. As you build the muscles, you'll build the strength. You'll become more. It won't seem so foreign to you. Now, look, I have two things I want to discuss with you as we close up. Number one, let me just write this down so I don't forget it because I've been thinking a lot about it. Number one is emotional discipline. We're switching gears here for a minute. Emotional discipline. Guys, this is a requirement. There is so many things that can pull us in so many directions. I used to talk about keeping things in the lines. Keep your emotion within the lines. That's one way to say it. But I think there's a better way to say it, and that is emotional discipline. In a world that is of constant communication, in a world where the news and media sensationalizes also brings truth and not quite sure, each of us are different. That's not really the issue. The issue is do you have emotional discipline? Are you willing to allow the media to destroy your emotional well-being? Are you willing to let a bad deal go sideways, destroy your emotions? Are you willing to allow something on social media where someone pops off, screams something, says this, offends in this way, and you then go berserk, bonkers? What I am suggesting to you is emotional discipline. The discipline to act in accordance with what you truly believe. The discipline to recognize that yelling, screaming, shouting oftentimes gets very little done. That when we hide behind the emails or hide behind the social media platforms or sending ruthless texts or tough posts, is that really emotional discipline? It's for you to decide. But I want you to think, which is what I talked about when I first started today. Think. What are you thinking about? Can you create emotional in your life, whether it be your business, whether it be with the civil things that we're dealing with today? Always have civil things. Can you truly do what I have often said, which is E plus R equals O? Events plus response. The emotional discipline equals the results of our lives. Guys, I have to tell you, this is what I didn't want to forget to talk to you about, is you each have a stewardship. We're going to close with this. You each have a stewardship. You have a responsibility. Some of you take that on and own it. Some of you may take it on and try to move away from it. Some of you don't want to be known as a leader. Some of you like to stand outside the fences of the ball game, sit on the bench, scream and shout, point fingers. But the fact is that you have a stewardship. Of this, but because it is a great reminder, and as Socrates said, and he said these words, that learning is remembering. Just never underestimate the magnitude of what one man or one woman can do. The difference that you can make and the difference that can be had if you will truly step up and recognize that you have a stewardship. You have a stewardship to your clients. You have a stewardship to your family. You have a stewardship to yourself. You have a stewardship to this community or whatever community or this nation that we live in. You have a responsibility, a stewardship, an accountability. And whether it's someone else holding you accountable or you holding yourself accountable, maybe it's God even holding you accountable. Whatever may be the case for you, there is an accounting, and there is a steward, and there is a responsibility that each one of us has to play full out, to become our very best, to not let this life be wasted, to not discount it and always believe that the vision is that everything will just be better for that person. Don't waste this privilege of this life. Don't waste this opportunity of this life. Challenge you to treat yourself well. Love yourself. Be kind in these most difficult moments. Listen to your heart. Align your mind, your heart, and your emotions, and go to work. And work hard. Pay the price. Sacrifice. Sacrifice. You make it. It doesn't last forever. Whatever that may be. Maybe it's just the sacrifice of today. You prospect for just 1 hour. Just 1 hour. Maybe it's the sacrifice of getting a role play partner and working on a script that you're so uncomfortable with. Maybe it's the sacrifice of changing the way you think and you write down 10 times in the morning and 10 times at night who you are, that you believe in yourself, that you're the best agent for the job. There's the reason why I can shout out all these little examples of things you may want to consider doing isn't because I'm so smart. It's not that. That's my kids. That's the fact. I'm not so smart. Heck, I can't even back up a trailer. I got Dylan who are driving our truck, driving our boat, and I'm like, Dylan, you back it up. I can't even figure this thing out. I haven't paid the price. I haven't sacrificed and taken enough time, right? Because that's the reality. There's nothing you can't learn. There's nothing you can't do. And yes, you can turn to others to help you, like I have Dylan who helps me. But at the same time, guys, you can help others. You can be the difference. You can be the person who paid the price to become more so that you can assist more, bless lives, earn more, become more, achieve more. Maybe it's more bliss. Maybe it's more happiness. Maybe it's more joy. Maybe it's more peace of mind. In the end, I can just tell you, this is what I want for each and every one: be free. I want you to be happy. I want you to be fulfilled. But in one word, I want you to be free. Free of the fetters of your mind. Free of the only way that I have found that you can find that is you have to pay a price. You have to see and know where you're going. And you have to recognize that although it may be difficult, the price that you may pay, it'll be worth it. It will be worth it. Story I've now said close twice, but I got ahead of myself. But I hike a mountain. I'm going to hike next month. It's called Kings Peak. Many of you know it, highest mountain in Utah. And I always love it. There's about three or four, well, let's say three false peaks on the final ascent of these 8 peaks. And you think you have gone to the top each time. And on the second to the last, like the one right before the actual peak itself, I always get the group, no matter who I'm with, them to stop. And I get them to turn around. And I say, take it in. And I make them open up their hands, big and wide. I say, take it in. Because you don't know when you'll be back. See, it was several years ago was the last time I did that. Had a couple of back surgeries, a couple of crazy times and a couple of moments of craziness in business. You don't know when you'll always be back. But what you can always do is you can reflect. And you can reflect on who you've become in the process. And so on that hike, as I have everyone look back, I always say to them, they've hiked 19 miles that day to get to this point, a few hundred feet from the top of the mountain. And I always ask them, I always do, look how far you've come. You feel right now. Like, how good do you feel for how far you've come? And I know many of you have come a long ways. You've sacrificed a lot. You've paid a lot of prices. I get that. I'm just challenging you today in today's market, today's world, to sacrifice a little bit more, to pay a deeper price, recognizing there's nothing you can't learn. There is nothing about this business, frankly, life, that you cannot do. And with that, just know how grateful I am for you. Know that these are monumental times, times where true leadership will be tested, times where your emotional disciplines will be tested, and times where you will be proven. And that is a beautiful thing, because at the end of the day, we're going to look back as if we're at the top of that mountain and say to ourselves, look how far we have come. So have an extraordinary day. Have a great week. Work hard. Pay the price. Get a clear vision. See where you're going. Recognize it's temporary. And just know you can do this. Promise you can. Know you're loved. Know you're appreciated. Know you're recognized. And although I would love to be able to talk to every single one of you who's on the call and the many agents that we have, just know that I'm here. I am always here. And I am always nothing more than a phone call away if you need something, or a text. And just know that it is a deep appreciation that I have to be able to be a leader inside this organization, but to also be part of your life and to see the difference that I am able to make as you go out and make more differences. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun to see the legacies of leadership as we work together? So grateful for you guys. Have an extraordinary day, and we'll talk soon.